Chad Anderson is with us, managing partner of Space Capital. It's all about investing in space. In fact, you invest in SpaceX. I mean, that's something that we're very familiar with. And you have an outlook on this industry for us and some of the trends that we should be watching. It's hot, isn't it? Why?
Sure, it's a great time to be investing in the space economy for sure. We're still in the category creation of phase of this space, but we believe this to be one of the most significant wealth creating opportunities of the last 50 years. It's been an incredible decade of growth, and we've now passed an inflection point, and things are really starting to take off.
So when we look at what's going on in space, why is this something, and I know that you're invested in over 30 companies in this group, why now?
Well, we recently published our Q3 Space Investment Quarterly, which really looks at startup investment, startup trends, and investment into those companies. And there's been $166 billion of private equity investment into 1,100 space companies over the last 10 years. And interestingly, our data shows that the space economy has held up remarkably well throughout the pandemic. And some key areas of the space industry are actually benefiting from this shift to remote work and remote operations. In times of uncertainty, business leaders are really hungry for insights and information, which is exactly the type of data that space companies provide. And in fact, many of our portfolio companies have seen an increase in demand for their products and services due to the current economic environment. So we think that the space economy is going to play an increasingly important role in a post-COVID world.
Yeah. Earth Observation, EO. This is a new acronym that I have to put into my daily speak here on the network. Now I understand what this is about, Earth observation, and it's basically the data that will be coming in, and it could have a transformative effect, you say. And I know you're watching companies that you like, Skywatch, Fluorosat, Arbol, and Totem Labs.
Sure. So those are all good names. It's unlocking Earth observation is certainly a trend for investors to look out for. This is an incredibly valuable data set. So this is the satellites that are orbiting the Earth and generating images, whether optical or radar or different types of sensors, gathering information about our planet that's extremely valuable. But up until this point, it's been very difficult to access, which has prevented its commercialization. But that's all really about to change. Skywatch is certainly a company to watch in this space. They're a data aggregation and distribution platform. And they are making this data, Earth observation data, accessible to companies that would be building applications based on top of this data. So we call this space geospatial intelligence. And we think that this is going to have a transformative effect on trillions of dollars industries like agriculture, insurance, logistics. We think that this impact is going to be similar to that of GPS. And a couple of the ones that you mentioned, Fluorosat is an ag tech company that's using satellite data. And Arbol is a parametric insurance company using satellite data to underpin what they do.
So these companies, obviously, and now you mentioned agriculture and ag tech and everything that we're going to be looking at in the future. You have the IPO forecast and SPACs and IPOs that are coming ahead now in this new trend, that we will see several more IPOs in the next 1 to 2 years. We just looked at some of the names there. Are those the ones that you're focused on, or is there something else that we should be watching?
Well, the first IPOs have been an interesting bag. So we now have a year of Virgin Galactic being publicly traded. There's another company that's going public via SPAC in January, Momentous, and SpaceX is talking about spinning off their Starlink business, their satellite internet business, in the next few years, once it's up and running and generating some consistent recurring revenue. And so those are the big ones that are on the docket. I do think that we're going to start to see some other companies go public. We predicted that we'd see a couple of these happen this year, but I think the pandemic sort of postponed those plans. But I do think that we're going to see some of those satellite Earth observation data aggregation companies, the data sensor satellite companies, looking to go public in the next year or so.
Right, right. And you mentioned Virgin Galactic, the ticker symbol on that is SPACE, right? SPCE. When you look at the group, I mean, there's other names that are publicly traded that maybe you can give us a thought or two. Everything from Orbcomm, Garmin, SiriusXM would have something to do with this. Viasat, Iridium, EchoStar, Dish, Gilat Satellite. Any of these sort of L3, Harris Technologies, Northrop Grumman, any of these sort of spark your interest, or you just like the trend that you're seeing?
Well, so we're primarily private investors. We're investing at the prototype and team stage, at the seed stage, but these companies are growing quickly and they're operating in a similar space. So Maxar, one that you mentioned, Digital Globe is one of their companies, and they are one of the largest Earth observation companies in the world. And their CEO came out and said that they have seen thousands of % jumps in demand for their data as the world shifts to more remote work and more remote operations. And business leaders and governments clamoring for these types of insights in a dynamic and unstable environment. And so, and that's not just those companies, those large public companies experiencing this, the companies in our portfolios are as well. And this kind of speaks to a broader shift as well. All of the FAMGA tech giants are now, they want to get this data piped into their clouds, and they've increased their involvement, and it's going to serve as another catalyst for growth in this sector. Amazon last year activated their Amazon ground services, and the FCC approved their plans to launch a $10 billion constellation of 3,000 satellites. And just last quarter, Microsoft announced their Azure Orbital to compete with Amazon, that connects directly the satellites to their cloud. And so, you know, each of these tech giants now has existing or emerging space initiatives. And, you know, in the same way that every company today is a technology company, every company in the future is going to be a space company.
Right. Chad, great to chat with you because you talk about obviously the exponential growth we're expecting to see and some of the data that is so key at the demand, right? You mentioned Maxar is one of the ones that has been seeing exorbitant demand. MAXR is the ticker of that one for its proprietary data. Chad, great conversation. I'm sure we'll be chatting in the new year as well as more and more of these companies go public. Chad Anderson, Managing Partner, Space Capital.